all groups boarded. If you're ticketed for this flight, welcome aboard.
But one thing about these trips to Chicago, and especially these trips down memory lane where I really get to like stand on the ground and be in the places that I was at a different season of my life, it fires me up. Good morning, y'all. It is after 4 o'clock. I need to be out of this house in the next 15 minutes. I got a decent ride to the airport. So we are headed to Chicago, and I'll talk to y'all when I get there, or at least get to the airport, because you know how it is when you're short on time. They're boarding A, I have B boarding, but I made it. When I say I would not have made this flight if I didn't have TSA pre and if I didn't valet my car, I made it just by the skin of my teeth. They all have already boarded A. I have B boarding. So I walked up and like, it's time, but I kind of like it. Because the lounges aren't normally open and fully functioning this early. So to just get here and get on the plane works for me. I made it home to Chicago. That whole airport situation couldn't have went any better. It was perfection. I walked right up to boarding. Amazing experience. Flight was good. Got here. I had a little bit of a hiccup with the rental car. It wasn't nothing even to like make a big fuss about, but it ended up pushing me back just a little bit. So by the time I got to the car and drove to where my family member's service was, it was like 10 minutes before the service started, but I was on time for that. So it's just afternoon. I did not want to go to the cemetery. I actually have not, I think I went once in support of my husband when he had a loss in his family, but since I lost my mom, I've only been to the cemetery one other time. I don't know how it's gonna go going forward, but it's just not something that I wanted to do today, especially in the city. Maybe there's something about being in Chicago, knowing that my mom is laid to rest here and not wanting to like get too wound up in all of the emotions of things. So there's a repast at my aunt's, and I want to go by and love on her a little bit. I love her so much, and it's always good to see her when I come in town. But they went to the burial, so I'm about to hang out with my big sister, who I don't see all of the time, for a couple of hours. Stop over there, and I'm gonna give myself about 4 hours from the time I leave family to just kind of go by the lake, go possibly downtown a little bit, just do some lightweight touristy, and I'm probably not even going to get out of the car too much. I just want to see, like, I'm sitting in the neighborhood that I grew up. I hopped off the E-way expressway. If you're not from Chicago, I hopped off the E-way to come over here just to see. Everything looks different. Of course, it's been 10 years since we moved to Dallas, and I've been back over the years, but living here is completely different. So I just like to, you know, kind of ride through the old neighborhoods and see what is new and feel the feels. But I'm headed to my sister's. I'm so excited to like let y'all meet some of the family, show y'all a little bit of the city, and then I'm headed back to Dallas. I got clients at 8 a.m. in the morning. It's so interesting, like riding through these areas that, oh my goodness, are such a huge part of my life. Just being in the city, I also be realizing too that some of my feelings when I come to Chicago are also rooted in the fact that in Dallas, I don't live in the city. Here in Chicago, I grew up like living in the city. So the hustle and bustle and people everywhere and traffic and folks hustling and selling candy in the street and waters and all of that is like an everyday occurrence. While in Dallas, because I kind of live in a suburban area, I don't see as much of it. It's not that it does not happen in Dallas. The thing is, I don't live in Dallas. I live in the suburbs of Dallas, so you don't get as much of that city atmosphere. So it's a little bit of that. Chicago popping. Don't let me get you wrong. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It is built different. But I realize that that also contributes to why I sometimes feel a little bit like, woo, when I come here, because I haven't been in this hustle and bustle in the same way for some years. Eldest son, I used to take the bus over here. His first babysitter, my baby was like, I want to say weeks, but if not weeks, he was less than 3 months old, and I was back already working my little jobs and then taking him to the daycare. A little older couple will watch my baby. I can't remember their names. I pray that they still well. Chicago don't play about, like, if I remember correctly, or if it's still the same way, you can't even really be on your phone here. So while I'm like driving and holding this camera, I'm doing the absolute most. I'm trying to like show y'all where a girl from real quick. Hopefully I don't get my butt in no trouble while I'm doing it. Oh man, I'm like riding past the candy store where we used to like get our little quarter, like when chips was still a quarter, and quarter juices. I need to know what was in them quarter juices. Really, I would really like to know. The neighborhood that I grew up in here in Chicago is called Brainerd Park. I threw around the idea of possibly buying property over here because the property is so cheap, but it's cheap because the crime rate is high. So I did just want to kind of ride through and see what was what. This is Brainerd Park, the park that I spent my entire grade school career coming to. This was the meeting point. I mean, not necessarily the meeting point, but the go-between for two different sets of gangs. Dang, I could see the police sitting over there in the park. So clearly this is still like one of them neighborhoods. Jesus. And this is my grammar school. Y'all, I am nerding out so much, but this is so fun. Look how big this school is. Well, it feels big. Okay, this is very, very nerdy of me, but I do have to go over here and take a picture. I'm home in Chicago for a couple of hours and I just felt the nostalgia vibes going. So I'm taking a little ride past places that are special to me here in the city. And I'm at my grammar school. I literally graduated from 8th grade here at Fort Dearborn. It's just so interesting and crazy how life's. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you for Dearborn, for the part that you played in the woman that I am. Hello. I say I am flooded with emotion. Oh my goodness. Just looking at the park and the neighborhoods. Grew up on this block. I gotta ride past the building. I grew up on this block. I grew up in this neighborhood, learning to navigate where I should go and where I shouldn't go. Like, when I think as an adult about the lessons, like there's so much joy, and like I'm thinking about where people I know live, the sense of neighborhood that we used to have growing up. This neighborhood is riddled with memories for me. It's bittersweet because I think about the lessons that I had to learn, the person that I had to be in order to like navigate these spaces. There's no doggone way whatsoever a child at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 should have that much pressure and that much responsibility. And oh God, it's just a lot, y'all. It's a lot. Oh my goodness. We used to live right up there on that second floor, 9124 Ada. Wow. It's kind of hard to convey all of the feelings, and I'm probably not supposed to convey all of the feelings, but OMG is a very big feeling. I just came around the corner about 3 blocks over to the second place I grew up and spent most of my life. I was here until 18, till I moved out, had my son. Another bittersweet moment is the fact that my family owned this building. My aunt, who was unmarried, purchased this building. She lived up on the 3rd floor. Her sister, who she cared for, lived on the 2nd floor, and she had a tenant on the 1st floor. Like I said, she passed away and her son got the building, and eventually the building was sold. But when you think about legacy, what my unmarried aunt had to do to acquire this building, and how salty I am that we didn't keep this building in the family. Beautiful building. Like, I like coming home, but then it hurts to come home. But one thing about these trips to Chicago, and especially these trips down memory lane, where I really get to like stand on the ground and be in the places that I was at a different season of my life, it fires me up. I go home with a whole level, with a different level of gratitude, with a different level of tenacity, a different hunger to make sure that these days wasn't wasted. The things that were instilled in me don't die because I don't live in this environment anymore. Because there's a lot of stuff that I had to let go to live comfortably and not be stressed and all of that, living in a city that is a big city like this that has some of the concerns that Chicago has. But it's so many things that Chicago built in me that make me different, especially in an environment in the South. Listen, yeah, I needed this. I couldn't go by the grammar school without going to the high school. You got me down again. My heart is full, but my ambition ignited. In the car, are at 5:30 and I am headed to the airport. Super bittersweet leaving my family. My bestie came to see me before I left out. I had a scheduled trip to come next weekend for an annual picnic, house music picnic. If you're from Chicago, you already know. Next weekend, but because my aunt passed, I ended up coming this weekend. Now I'm considering coming back next week. We shall see.